Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Complex Like Wine, the podcast where we talk about complicated things to improve over time, just like wine does. So, based on how we've scheduled this episode, it's 9 a.m. So, I have tea, no wine this time.
Have some water. I forgot my tea.
But yeah, we have Bianca with us today, and so she's going to be sharing her story. And when I first heard about Bianca and when I first spoke to you, you just hear the way you speak about life. You're just so positive, and I love it. So I hope the audience, you guys, I hope you love it too, because I think it's really rare to find somebody just that genuinely, like, what's the word? Just positive in general, is despite any trauma and struggles we've gone through. So I admire that about you.
Thank you. Thank you. I really, really do appreciate it because, I mean, life has been a journey. And sometimes I wonder as well, like, how I can be so positive the way that I am. But I just feel like it's been something that I just had to learn how to cultivate for myself because I don't know, as long as I can remember, I can always remember just being like a really driven child. I even heard stories when I was younger that like I was so determined at times and maybe sometimes even stubborn that I guess I remember my parents letting me know that they were driving from like I don't know if you guys know where, let's say, Downey is, Downey, California, all the way down to Riverside. And I wouldn't have it. I did not like being in that car seat. And I cried the whole way there, like nonstop until someone took me out. And I was just so determined that, like I'm going to continue to cry until I, get what I want. So and it's a good thing and a bad thing because I'm also trying to cultivate knowing how to just take a rest and knowing that it's okay not to always be grinding and always have to work to get what you need. So for me, it's just like, and it's continuous like journey for me right now of just self-discovery and learning that. And I think maybe because I'm getting older, I'm going to be 25 in like this Thursday. So it's like in a couple of days.
Oh, well, happy early birthday.
Thank you. But it's like really making me think of just like how my life's been going. And I can say that during this year, it's been life changing, but it's nothing that I did that was continuous of the pattern that I did before of just like always of wanting to control things, make sure things were, the way that I dictated them, like everything that I had in my life was because it was in my rule book of just like this has to go this way, this has to go that way. But this year was just a year of just trying to cultivate being in the moment and kind of just doing what's the best right thing in this moment, as long as it's like leading me to my goal, like my overarching goal that I would like to see in my future. And of course it is to be happy, to be at peace, but also those little goals or those, I guess you can call them superficial goals of like, I don't know, my dream has always been to continue my education and to actually continue being a student and not keep dropping out and then, because of life and then trying to come back in and then dropping out because of life and then coming back in. And now I can say that through this year and this was maybe a little bit over a year now because it was even before COVID that I kind of just started to think about life differently and really see that like really taking that quote of, in order for things to change, something has to change. And I know that sounds so silly because it's kind of just like, well, duh, like we all know that. But one thing I've come to realize as well is that a lot of the things that we see as common sense are not very common. And we need continuous reminders. And for me, I really started to try to live that and not just know it and be like, oh, yeah, I already know that. Like, tell Joe, I already know that. Like, I don't need to be reminded of it. But for me, it was just actually really practicing it. And not gonna lie, it's very scary. But the thing that's lessened the load of anxiety is just focusing on the moment because I can handle the moment. I can't really handle the future or what the future would entail or what ifs or what if this happens or what if this happens. I don't know if that's going to happen. All I know is what I have right now. And I have the tools necessary to manage what I have right now. And when I started to kind of see things that way, so many different blessings started coming into my life that I I'm still in awe and shock about. And I sometimes even want to cry because sometimes I even fear. I'm not going to lie. I still struggle with like nervousness of like, wow, like I didn't even plan this out. What if it gets snatched out of me? But I have to just kind of realize and continue reminding myself to stay in the moment. It's going to be okay. And if it's not for me, it's not for me. And it's nothing to, yeah, it's sad, but in the same time, it's nothing to be disappointed about because maybe there's something even bigger and greater that I can't foresee that's going to happen because thus far I did not plan what I've been going through. And the things that I'm mentioning is like I finally go back into school. I've been doing it slow, like taking a few classes here and there. And I've been successful. I finally passed, I passed my winter courses, I passed my spring courses, and I thought I was going to go to fall, but I somehow raised my GPA supernaturally because I did not plan this out. I was already kind of like, I had this goal of like, okay, I'm going to do fall to take these amount of classes and then take spring and take these amount of classes to get into a college that I got accepted to. And I initially got accepted for fall 2021, but after and getting feedback where I used to never take feedback by others. I just kind of went off of me and I was just like, I don't care what you have to say. You don't know me. Like, I don't even want to know your feedback because you're going to distract me from what I think. But like I said, this year I kind of wanted to do things differently. So it's like, okay, tell me tell me your feedback. What would you do in my situation? Doesn't mean I'm going to do what you were going to do, but at least I know different perspectives. And after getting those perspectives, it was a hard decision, but I came to the conclusion the smart thing to do would be to defer. And so I asked the college if I could defer, and they allowed it. And I was so grateful because I heard from others that that's rare. Sometimes colleges don't allow you to defer. It's like you are accepted to there, and that's it. Like you reapply, but if you don't get it, you don't get it. So I was really grateful, and I talked to my admissions counselor, and we tried to schedule a plan of action to raise my GPA because unfortunately, because of everything of like dropping out and dropping back in, my GPA wasn't at that level where they would grant me any more awards besides financial aid. So in order for me to be more open to awards that I had to raise my GPA a little bit higher than what it was. So then I was like, okay, well then my goal for this deferment would be to take enough classes so that coming spring and coming the time where my program begins, I can raise my GPA higher so I can hopefully get a merit scholarship and get some more awards so I don't have to pay too much. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to do that. And it was hard because I'm usually just like, just go for it, do it now, do it now, do it now. And then ended up regretting it. But I ended up just saying, okay, well, I'm just going to do this route. Like it might take a little longer. I might, have to wait a year, but it's going to be okay. And so I did that. And randomly enough, a couple of weeks ago, I spoke to my counselor at my current college, and we just kind of were calculating my GPA from summer and just accumulative. And randomly, I was in shock. I thought I had calculated it myself. So I was like, oh yeah, I'm almost there, but I'm in the brisk, but I just looked at my unofficial transcript. I'm not going to make it until for the summer. So I'm going to just continue with the plan of fall. But then my admissions counselor did his calculations and he said, well, you retook the class that you didn't finish a while ago. So we can take that off your transcript. And now your GPA actually is at the GPA that you need and a little bit higher than you need. And so I was just like, what? You're kidding. No. You're calculating that right now, but I'm looking at my unofficial transcript. It does not say what you're telling me. He's like, it takes some while to kick in, but it will kick in and it'll be that GPA. So I was a little skeptical and I was like, I'm going to give it some time. I trust you, but I'm going to wait to see it actually be changed in the official transcript. And then little did I know, it did change and it was that GPA. And so that changed everything for me. I'm still deciding to go fall 2022 because I feel like it'll be too fast for me and too stressful to start this fall, especially because my school is in Buffalo, New York, and I'm currently in California. So that's coast to coast.
It's going to be a big move.
Yes, a very big move. So what I decided to do and what I'm sticking to, unless, the world, universe, God, whatever you want to call it, like tells me otherwise, what I've decided is I'm going to move early. I fortunately found a place that, and this is honestly God sent as well. I found a place that houses students in Buffalo. It's called College Club of Buffalo. And they basically house students and working professionals. I asked the age limit. They said they house from up to like drinking age up to like, they have like, I don't know, she was saying like 60-year-olds. I don't even know if
Mm.
maybe older than that, but they just basically house whoever's like a student or is a professional, like that's working and that needs, they like maybe community housing and like stuff like that. And the price of living there would be a lot cheaper than waiting into dorm or
Mm.
to get like my own room, like rent a room or anything like that. So I was like, hey, this is like a blessing in disguise. I don't even know how I came up with this. I was looking through Craigslist, honestly, and like I was just going like anything that seemed good, a good price. I was just like taking a leap of faith, applying to it, putting my name out there, saying, "Hey, my name is Bianca. This is my situation. I'm looking to move over there. I'm hoping to start my program, and I'm a student." And somehow they reached out to me, and I put my deposit in the other day, and it's just waiting
Wow.
for me. So thank you.
Oh, so excited for you.
Thank you so much. I'm scared. I'm scared. But right now, the only thing I'm waiting for, and I already booked a plane ticket. So I already
Ooh.
have that too. So that's kind of just like bam. And I feel really like grateful that I actually found that plane ticket. It was in the middle of the night. I could not sleep. I could not sleep. And for some reason, I was just like browsing of different ways that I could get to Buffalo. I was like, okay, I could take my car. And I was trying to kind of like see how much that would be financially with gas, how financially that would be with just my car. It's not a new car at all. It's like a Ford 2005 with over like 150,000 miles in it. So it's like close to 2,000 miles, which is not very good. And putting more miles in it might not be very smart. So I decided that calculating it all, and I've always been like someone that would like to save, even as a little kid. I think, especially with what I've been through in my life, I kind of had a little fear that just in case something were ever to happen, I wanted to feel that security that I
Mm.
had some sort of saving. So like anytime like I was given money, I would like put it in like in a little box and I'll just save it and save it and save it. So I was able to save enough, and I used some of that saving to kind of like manage that plane ticket, and then also manage, and because I'm working, saving with that, a way to hopefully transport my car over there instead of getting miles in it. Um,
Mhm.
because I know, and I reached out to an individual that's actually in the program that I'm going to be starting. She's in her last year, and I asked her basically, would it be smart to sell my car? Would it be smart to take my car? Since you know the program, you know what they're gonna have me required to do. And she said that because in my program, and I'm a nutrition major, so I'm doing nutrition and dietetics, they're gonna have us do rotations to different sites. So if I had a car, it would be ideal because then I wouldn't have to use their bus system, which is nothing like our bus system.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. Like they're, from what I gathered, it's not really reliable. Like you can be just in the bus stop waiting and waiting probably most of the day until you finally get something. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to listen to her. And trust me, in the past, I would just have been like, no, I'm just going to sell my car. It's too much work. Like, no. But I kind of just like, I'm just going to save with what I saved. I'm going to use that, try to save some more to maybe find some cheap, reliable transporting um, contractor that can help me out. And so I'm still looking for that currently because I did some research and they said that if I do it too soon, especially in the summer months, like it's very high peak, so the rate's going to be really high. But if I
Mm.
wait a little bit, like um, September time, they can probably give me a lower rate. So I want to do that because I want to save as much as I can. Um, but yeah, like the last missing puzzle, and it's giving like right now, this is the biggest stressor that I have currently as of yet, is that And this is another blessing. Like, I feel like I don't even know, but like I chose my job that I have currently because it has many locations across the United States. Also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, in Canada and internationally. And for me, that really gave me a sense of security because I know myself. I love to kind of like, I'm kind of just like a squirrel of like, oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. So it's like knowing that about myself, I'm like, okay, I like stability, but I also like flexibility and the fact that I know that I have options. And so I chose that job, and I found out they have locations in Buffalo,
Mm.
and they have a location with my company working in my school as a food service like worker. And so I was just like, oh my goodness, like what is happening right now? Like this is not me. Like this is
Mhm.
not me controlling it. Like this is just life. This is basically what people have been saying of like life, there's a purpose in life, and you're going to find your purpose, and life will show you your purpose, and it will align things to move you to that purpose. And for me, it's just been so crazy. But honestly, the biggest stressor, going back to that, is yes, they have, you know, an employment there at my school, but I'm in this dilemma because I already spoke to a different place in New York that's a hospital, kind of like me, that they're already willing to transfer me once I go over there. So I already have a spot with them in the hospital as a food service, just what I'm doing now, but just in a different hospital in Buffalo. So they're just waiting for me to get there and then move on with the process, do my security, my background check, and then I'm in. And I don't need that much training because I already kind of know what I'm going to get used to. But the thing that I feel kind of bad that I did was that after getting that offer and accepting it and being so excited for it, I kind of was just like, oh, my heart melted because I was like, oh, it would have been so nice to work at my school because one, I'll still get experience, and two, I don't know how the program is, and I don't want to stress that. Let's say come finals, I need time to talk to my employer and be like, hey, I need some time to just study and not stress. Like, can I take this time? And because of my school, I would hope that they would be accommodating, be like, yeah, no problem, Bianca. Like, we're here for you. Like, just take the time that you need. And then, when finals is over, we'll come back to the same schedule. So I took a leap of faith, which was scary, but also I kind of regret, but don't regret because I know that at least I'm just putting myself out there. Is I did do an application for them online through my internal portal through associates because we were allowed to apply to different jobs within like our company. So it's
Mhm.
called like an internal associate portal. And through that, I got declined by them. But I ended up kind of thinking like, I'm going to actually go to their website for their dining services at my college. And I'm going to look for the director of dining, the nutrition director at the dining. And I ended up yesterday shooting him a call. Obviously, I knew there wasn't going to be an answer because it was a Saturday. So I left him a voicemail, just letting him know my situation. I also left him an email being very open, basically telling him like I already got accepted to a hospital in Buffalo. I'm in the process of transferring, but I just wanted to take a leap of faith because I know that I am a student and it'll probably be ideal for me to work at my school because I do not know the rigor that I'm going to be under.
Mhm.
Just being open, letting him know literally less than 10 minutes, he emailed me back letting me know like, oh, no problem, Bianca. We can try to see how we can make an employment at DUville happen. Just call me. And he gave me his phone number. Call me. I'm not in the office right now, but call me on Monday so we can set up something. And I was heading to work like as well. And so I just stopped somewhere like near a park before work. And I was just like, oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? Like, do I want to go this route or do I want to go to the hospital route? All this doubt, all this, like, I don't know, I call it like this just, I don't even want to call it evil, but just this contemplation of just like, okay, what is the right thing to do? And so I ended up just kind of emailing him back and just letting him know, like, awesome, thank you for this opportunity. And I would love to speak to you on Monday. And we scheduled a time on Monday. But I also let him know that like I did like the security I have, that knowing that I already have a solid place that I'm gonna be transferring to in the hospital. But in the case that I can't transfer to the college successfully, just like I am in the hospital, then I don't want to lose that. And especially because I already set my commitment to the other hospital, I don't want to just kind of be flaky on them. But I
Mm-hmm.
also know that I also have to listen to my heart of what would be the best that, yes, I don't want to be flaking on them, but what would be more sustainable? Because I don't just want to say yes to a hospital and then not be able to follow through because I'm so stressed and then end up having to say, oh, I can't do this anymore. Like, have to go. So I have to think about it openly. Um, so yeah, that's the current stressor right now. But I'm trying to just kind of like take a deep breath and stay in the moment, do what I can in the moment to enjoy this moment. And then when that time comes on Monday, kind of just like see what happens and just be as open and real and honest as possible when I have the conversation with him. And if that transfer is possible, I think I probably would want to go that route, even though it's a scary route, because I already kind of know what I'm getting myself into in the hospital. And it gives me great experience as well, because as a dietitian, you want as much hospital experience as possible, because hospitals, they really hire a lot of dietitians, and in schools, not very much. They do, but it's kind of like one for like the whole school to kind of manage, like normal nutrition and dietary needs for the school. Um, but I don't know. Who knows what I'm going to end up deciding in the end? But I'm just going to take it moment by moment and see what happens. But I can just say that I'm in for a journey, but I'm up for it. It's going to have its highs and its peaks. And I'm not going to say it's going to be easy, because I can tell you, like, I'm an anxious wreck right now. And I've had tears, like, even today and yesterday. But I just know that in the end of the day, this is just building me. This is going to build me to the person
Mm-hmm.
I am going to be. And I'm going to look back in it and just maybe shed another tear and know that, like, I was so strong. Because even looking back at the age that I am now to the younger self, like when I was 12 or when I was 10 or just younger, I know that that was just a really strong individual. And that strong individual is me, and it's still me. And I'm going to continue to grow until I'm no longer conscious of being in this world. Um, so, yeah, this is pretty much me in a nutshell. I did leave out some stuff, but I just feel like these are just like what I felt like were the main parts of me sharing today.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I just so hearing you talk and your perspective things, you're going to be fine. You're going to do great. You're going to kick ass. And I'm so excited for your big move on your Monday with your meeting. I'm going to be keeping you my thoughts. Just do whatever you know your heart's tugging you to do. Follow your intuition. I know for me, I'm the same way. When I've committed to somebody, you don't want to be a flake. You want to keep to your word. But at the end of the day, you got to do what's good for you.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I agree. And that's one thing that I've learned this year as well, because prior to the job that I currently have, through the same company, I had another offer. And at the time, I was living closer to the other offer. But I'm so, I don't know, maybe it's just my character, and it's not a bad quality, but when I say something and I commit myself to someone, I like to follow through. So I ended up going with the one that was farther than where I was staying, because I just felt so bad. But then I felt very just kind of like, and I'm not going to regret it, because I'm still working there now. And now I'm in this place where it's still the same distance, but I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I'm probably sure I would have enjoyed the other place too.
Mm-hmm.
But I just feel like I need to learn that I'm not being a bad person to just say like, okay, this is what's going to work for me right now. And even if I did decide of like, yeah, I made my commitment to you, I'm going to stick to it. If that's what makes me happy and makes me feel good and makes my heart rejoice and feel at peace, then hey, maybe that's what I'm going to do too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but just kind of like for me, just really tapping into myself and not really tapping in too much of my brain, because I do value thinking things through and coming up with a plan and kind of like being logical and rational, which is great, and I do that. But in the same time, I feel like there's a time and place for that, but there's times and places where listening to your heart is really I mean, I don't know if this is a stretch, but sometimes I feel like it's stronger than just always trying to plan things out, because I feel like our hearts sometimes know things that we can't really rationalize or put into paper or figure out. It's just kind of like this innate thing that's just kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
Bianca, like, I think your heart will be more at peace here.
Yeah.
When I've listened, it's been true. And when I haven't, I've been like, darn, I should have listened. So,
It's your intuition, like
yeah.
speaking to you.
Mhm.
I had well, I applied to an internship earlier this year, and I'm really glad I didn't get accepted at the end, because knowing now, like having time to look back, I don't think I would have been happy, because it was a very corporate setting. I was going to be the only female there and just very rigid and square, and I'm not
Yeah.
that way. And so now I'm working at a winery, which I really enjoy, and it's connected since with this podcast, like I talk about wine. So just, different things. And so, yeah, intuition is crazy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just how things connected for you too. Like that's just amazing, because I mean, I feel like sometimes we get so distracted on like what we think other people would find ideal and find like, oh, that looks so good. Like, why didn't you choose that? But it's like, in the end of the day, they're not going to be the one doing what you're going to do. So let's say if you
Exactly.
did do the internship because you're like, oh, maybe it's going to look good. Like, hey, I took an internship, don't I look awesome? But in the same time, it's like, you're going to be the one going through that stress. You're going to be the one having to wake up and do whatever the internship has you to do. They're not. They might
Mm-hmm.
have a comment about what they would like to see you do from their own biases. But in the same time, you're living your life. And as long as you're happy, I think the world will connect a lot better, because we need more happy people. Because the more happy people, the more people will know that, hey, we don't have to be just like, this world sucks because I'm just trying to live up to this standard that's unsustainable. And we all know that, but we're just still trying to pretend that it's not true. And it's just unrealistic.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say, I still struggle. I'm not perfect with that, because I know that I sometimes get blinded by it, even with the situation I'm in. But it's just continuous reminder of like, Bianca, we don't need to hash this back. Just stay in the moment. Your tools that you have, tools that you need are in this moment. Don't don't overthink, and listen to your heart,
Yeah.
because it's powerful.
Yes. I have a question for you, because I know for me, from everything I had to grow up with, and this kind of ties into like when you want to stick to your word and you feel bad, but in your heart that a different option's probably what's better. For me, I think that's from my trauma growing up and my need to people please. Do you feel like that kind of applies to you too?
Oh, yes, most definitely. Especially because with my trauma, um, I mean, it was a long years of sexual abuse, and it was with a grandparent, my grandfather. And so for me, I just felt really alone. I just felt very just like I had only myself, and I had to practice, or not practice, but I ended up having a tendency to dissociate of my reality, because it was just too hard to be in my current present moment. Like I just couldn't live in the present, because living in the present moment was just too hard to carry. And as I've grown up, that hasn't been suiting me very well. Yes, it helped me get through some really hard times as a kid, because living in that reality was just too much to bear mentally. But now as an adult, it's like I have the tools necessary. And I'm not going to say it just came, because I had to go through so much therapy, so much talking things through, so much like talking to my family about how I felt that they weren't there, or that how could they not have seen, like I was such a young little girl, like why wasn't I protected, and letting those be there. And I was afraid to share that kind of stuff, because I didn't want to lose their love. Like I was even trying to be a perfectionist with my parents, because I didn't want them to lose their love for me.
Mm.
Which I know now that hopefully as a parent, most parents have unconditional love for their child. I mean, as a mother, I can only imagine you carry this being inside of you for like 9 months. You're helping create this creature, and to have that creature outside of you, it must be scary. So for me, I had to work through a lot of hashed anger, like pushed back, like resentment, fear of abandonment, fear of, so much fear that now I'm starting to slowly come to terms that in the end of the day, as long as I value and accept myself and I'm living under my, I guess, my core values and my, what I believe, and that gives me peace, then that's all that matters. And whoever has the same viewpoints or believes in what I believe and have the same, thoughts, or not thoughts, but just like views and values as I do, they'll join the club. And even if no one joins my club, at least I joined my club and I'm staying true to me. And
Mm-hmm.
so finding that has helped me find peace. And it's hard because I know that as humans, we value connection and community. And to not have that sometimes because someone might not agree with me, and trust me, when someone doesn't agree with me, sometimes I do get a tendency to just be like, oh, agree with me, agree with me. But at the same time, I've come to learn that no, I don't need to plead people to agree with me. They can have their own opinion. And someone that will maybe have a similar opinion to mine, hey, maybe we'll be buds and maybe we'll disagree at times too, but it's okay. We're all unique. We all have different perspectives. Coming back to the purpose thing, we all have different purposes. We're all here for a reason. And I don't know, we just have to find that. And it's not in a way of like, we need to find that, but it's in a way of like, let's get ready for the journey. It's an
Mm-hmm.
exciting one. And if you trust the universe, you trust God, you trust source, like there's nothing to fear. Because in the big scheme of things, and this is my perspective, but I think everything was created in love. Yes, there was a lot of darkness and there is darkness in the world. But if we see them in more darkness and more anger and more hate, the more we're going to continue in that. But the more that we cultivate love, community, care, respect, understanding, the more I feel like we can foster and create the world we all want. I'm sure we all want a better, loving world. So that's just my thought, at least.
No, I think that's beautiful. I really do. Something, because especially for me, I graduated college last year, and with the
Okay.
pandemic, yeah, it's like you're just sitting here like, okay, I have no idea what I'm doing with my life. And so all throughout the pandemic, I was super stressed, super anxious, depressed for a bit, like dreading, like, I don't know what I'm doing and everything. But bringing back to what you mentioned earlier, like, if it's meant to stay, it's meant to stay. If it's not meant to be, it's not meant to be. And there's no point in getting really worked up about the what ifs. And that took me a long, long time to like be okay with that. I think it wasn't until like therapy this year when I started going that I realized, like, yeah, being stressed about myself and then putting myself down because I'm not doing things I feel like I should be doing right now, it's very unproductive. Like, it doesn't solve anything. And so what would be advice you would give people listening that are going through big changes or having some stressors? Like I mentioned, you mentioned earlier, like being grounded, being in the moment. For me, it was just realizing, like, taking a day at a time, like whatever's meant to be, whatever is going to be, and trusting whether, like you said, God, the universe, the world, whatever. It's just putting that faith onto that things are going to happen the best way that they can be for you.
Yeah. I think my biggest advice would just one, kind of like I said, trying your best to just be in the moment. Maybe like one thing I try to do, and I'm not very successful on most days, but just like trying like a mindfulness practice of just even like if you go for a walk, if you have your little earbuds, look for like a 1 minute walking meditation where you can just kind of like help yourself stay in the moment, especially for, I know for me that my brain's always like a monkey brain, like always like thinking of different things, but just having something that's guided to help me focus on that. Also kind of cultivating people around you, or even if say you're by yourself, cultivating things and media that helps you feel good, uplifts you, makes you feel that there's nothing that you need to do to strive for more. What you need is all right now, kind of like breaking free from that mentality of like lack and scarcity, but kind of seeing the world in more of abundance of like, yeah, there's enough for everyone. And what, like kind of like we were talking about before, whatever we need, it's available for us. We don't need to pretend or feel like there's nothing for us. Like there's, I need to get it now. Like it's not going to be there. It's like if it's meant to be, it's going to be there and it's going to continue to be there. And then just finding peace. Finding something that makes you feel at peace. If that's going to church, if that's going to a meditation practice, if that's doing yoga, if that's like sometimes I go outside and just lay on the ground and look up. And like I was telling when I met your dad, I was like, I would sometimes lay on the ground and just look up. And the other day I saw some, birds, and a thought just came to me of like, birds, I mean, at least as far as I know, I've never been a bird, but it seems like they don't question what their next step is. They just fly. They go with it. They let themselves fly. And it was just like that moment was just gave me so much peace because I just felt like I have a purpose too. Like I don't have to worry. Yes, we are human beings with the capability of to think and to analyze, but what if I just lived in quote unquote bliss as well, with knowing that, like there's limits to that, but in the same time of just like it's going to be okay. There's really nothing to worry about. And as long as I stay in the moment, there's nothing to fear, because
Mhm.
everything that I have to fear is either in the past, which has already happened, there's nothing you really can do about it, or in the future. And the future is unpredictable right now. Like we do not know the future. Like things change constantly. So let's just be present. So I would just say
Yes.
those.
No, I think that's really great advice. I 100%. Yeah, this year for me, there's been so many changes. And like within a span of weeks, just new things like doors closing, a bunch of new ones opening. And, the whole thing where when you're in the present, like you have no idea what's going to happen in the future. But once you've gone through that time and you look back, you get to really see like, oh, all these things played out for a reason. And like, look where I am now. So
Yeah.
for me, that's been helping, just like, looking at everything I've gone through and saying like, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of that, the good and the bad. And so it's just learning, not take your losses, but use them as fuel and learn to appreciate them, because it helps you who you are now. And yeah.
Yeah. And also kind of just like, and for me, like something that I just thought about is that it's hard to know that I had to gain some experience through life to kind of be able to appreciate what I've gone through. I'm saying that because just in any case, there's younger people that are like hearing this and then they're thinking like, oh, I don't want to have to go through this, and then look back and see, oh, there was a reason for that. Because I know as a younger individual and kind of like not having as much experience and thinking like, oh, I have to go through this. Like, oh, it sucks. Like, I don't want to have to go through this, to kind of get a better perspective. But just kind of thinking of it more of like, you don't have to worry about that. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But just coming back to just stay in the present, like enjoy your present, because you never know what you can manifest. And yes, sometimes experience does does help you have a bigger perspective, but you might change your stars if you just stay in the moment. Because a lot of the time, many people have struggled with that, with staying in the moment. But in the same time, if you try to, I mean, who knows the fruits that can happen. I just started to cultivate that now, and all the things that have been coming up, I did not have control over, that just came. And I think about it now, I'm like, what if I cultivate that as a younger individual? Like, who knows what I've been through? So I don't know. That's just my quick 2 cents.
Is there anything else you wanted to share with the audience?
mm, well, I guess just to never lose hope. I mean, life is really hard. I'm not going to lie. Life is really hard. There's a lot of things that come that are out of our control that we don't foresee to happen. But I think that's when we have to just unite together. And I know sometimes it's hard, especially if you're, dealing with social anxiety or dealing with, just fear of reaching out or fear of rejection. But I feel like if we could just take a leap of faith in something, it's just reaching out to each other, because I feel like the more we build community, the more that we connect and network, the more we feel less alone. Because, I mean, repeating myself again, but life is difficult. It's going to be difficult. I'm sorry, but I don't know if anyone, even someone that you might think like, oh, they have it all, they're rich, they're famous, everything that you think is, the ideal in our society, might still be going through a bunch of crap. And
Mhm.
so I would just say that really try to cultivate a community of people that you feel like you connect with and that you can feel like you can grow with. And if it's not in present times, because I know right now with all of these uncertainties with COVID and all of that, and hard to really be present, maybe searching that. Because one thing I've come to realize is there are a lot of groups being set up for like people that have similar, viewpoints, or even expanding your mind. Maybe if you don't have a similar viewpoint to another person, just, seeing what their perspective is. Doesn't mean you have to listen to what they have to say, but at least you have different, perspectives than just, your own. But just building community, I think, is very important. And I say that for myself as well, because that's something I've always been scared of. And I'm not gonna lie, I still get scared at times, to really connect and build that like strong connection with people, because of that same fear of like, oh, they're gonna go away, or I'm gonna be left alone. But in the end of the day, like, what if you are alone? Also try to build that connection with yourself. Because if you're not afraid to be with yourself, there's nothing you're gonna be afraid of. If you have someone there, a bonus. If you don't, it's okay. I'm a pretty cool person, So yeah, I would leave it with that.
You bring up a really good point. I think for people right now that want to find connection, but maybe you're just not in the place where you can like have friends around because COVID, or maybe you've closed some social circles and now you're trying to find new ones. Maybe just like doing a hobby, taking a class, whether it's like a yoga class, an art class, going to the park and like do some art thing, or there's a bunch of different apps like Meetup where you can meet a bunch of people and like do events, like all that stuff. So there's different options, and like, you don't have to do everything at once. But what you just said, like learning to be okay with yourself first, like that's key.
And everything falls into place. It's like you don't need people around to feel content. I mean, if someone comes in, then great, hey, a bonus. We can share, we can talk, we can laugh. But if not, I'm okay. I'm okay. I can entertain myself. I can make myself laugh. I can watch a YouTube video of funny cats or funny animals, and I can laugh with myself. Like, as long as you build a strong relationship with yourself, I feel like you're good, because you wouldn't need other people to validate your worth. You validate your worth all the time. So, and it takes practice. It's not easy. It's not easy, especially if you've gone through trauma or gone through, kind of a lot of things in your life where you've kind of had this mentality of like your worth not being as high. So it's going to take some time to build up, but baby steps to that direction of wanting to build some self-worth is going to lead you to a place that I'm sure, because I'm still in that journey, but I'm sure of just so much self-love and so much just kind of like appreciation for the life that you are living, good and bad. So yeah,
I think the last thing I'll share is there's wow, it just left my head. Wow, what was I gonna say? Wow, it just really left me.
It's cool.
Oh well, I guess we'll never know, but it's okay.
Hey, maybe when we end, it's just gonna pop out.
Maybe.
Have it sweet.
Well, thank you so much for taking time to do the podcast with me. It's really good talking to you. Yeah, I love your perspective on things, and so thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you again.
Perfect. Well, thanks guys for tuning in to this episode. I'll record me trying this week's wine later on because it's way too early to be doing that right now. And yeah, I'll have links in the bio. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one. Take care.
Bye.
Hey friends, so like promised, this is almost a week later that I'm recording this, but I'm bringing a bottle of wine to recommend. So this one I'm doing a little differently. This isn't an Italian wine. This is actually a Spanish wine that I was able to try from my work. And I already had it open and I thought like, I actually really enjoyed it. So I just recommend it to anybody if anyone's curious. So this is a Tempranillo wine by Volver, and the back of the bottle it says, "A wine of this quality and magnitude can only come from carefully tended old guard vines grown under adverse conditions. The sandy, calcareous clay soil strewn in with rocks and stones around the village of La Meses in La Mancha makes it a difficult place to grow grapes. The arid Mediterranean continental climate only amplifies the harsh conditions. The Tempranillo harvested from these vineyards produces a deeply colorful flavored wine with hints of ripe plum, black cherries, and sweet exotic spices. The supple tannins make this wine a perfect complement to many robust meat dishes and can age in the bottle well for many years." So this is what the bottle looks like. I'll try to find a link online. That way you guys can try it. anyway, yeah, I think it's really good. I'm gonna taste it again just because I enjoy wine. And I don't know if I've talked about this on my past episodes, but this is a tumbler I got and it says drink wine, pet, cat, and repeat. And as some of you know, I just got a cat within the past 2 months, and I never thought I would own a cat. I was always a dog person, so I think this is very suiting for me now. But anyway, cheers, guys, if you're drinking wine or not, whatever. Yep, very yummy. I highly recommend. But anyway, thanks for tuning in to another episode. I hope all of you are well. Hope you're all doing okay. And I just want to say I really appreciate everyone that messages me and gives me feedback on the episodes. I really appreciate all of you so, so much. And yes, thank you. Okay, I'll let you go now. All right, peace. Bye. See you next week.